You are now listening to Dear Dope Chick, a weekly podcast created to inspire and energize women to live life on their own terms. I'm your host, Felicia, and here is today's dose of dope. Dear Dope Chick, welcome and welcome back. How you living today? How you feeling today? Are you ready today to take some action? For those of you who are new here, who haven't been here in quite a while, or have been rocking with me since day one, Dear Dope Chick is an action-based podcast. So what does that mean? That means that every episode, you are challenged to take one step that aligns with living life on your own terms. That means you're doing something. You are doing something, taking a step that aligns with the lifestyle that you most desire. So do you have to? You don't have to do squat. 52 episodes, a whole year of recording Dear Dope Chick, and I can tell you that you have an option. There are options, there are possibilities, there are opportunities today. You have the opportunity to change your life. You have the opportunity to do different. You have the opportunity to see the possibilities in life and take hold and grab one and work with that. You do have that option, but you also have the option to do absolutely nada, diddly squat, nothing. And that is your choice and has always been your choice. And no one can rob you of your choice. So you can decide today to do something different. You can decide today to remain the same. You owe it to yourself to steer your life in the direction that you've always wanted to go, and you can do that for yourself today. I am here as an encourager. I will put the information out there. You are free to peruse it, to go and find more on it, to get a better understanding of it. You can do whatever you would like with the information that you receive today, but ultimately, all of this is your choice. Your lifestyle depends on your cooperation with yourself. Do you want to do something for yourself today? This could be it, but it's all up to you. So today's action is to think before you act. Maybe we've talked about this before, but I don't know if we've talked about it in this capacity. In your lifetime, you've likely heard think before you speak more than you can count. And as unkind as we can be sometimes, I believe we all need that reminder to think before we act. Speaking is an action. So thinking before we act and before we react is essential to our overall well-being. Those thoughtless words, you can't take them back. The obscene gestures, we cannot take those back. Once they're out there, it's out there. Those decisions that we made when we get angry, when we're angry at someone, when we are fielding off a temper, we can't unmake those decisions. It happens far too often that we put ourselves out there without thought of consequence and are left with the feeling of regret. As powerless as regret feels, I've felt it before, maybe you have too, it has a lot of us in a chokehold, even in this moment right now. Well, guess what? The power of thinking before you act is what reduces your chances of regret. So if you are living in a regretful state right now, if you feel like what you have done in your past is just horrible, or it needs reevaluation, or you just can't shake it, I can tell you right now that moving forward, especially in this moment, you have the chance to reclaim your power. You have the chance to think. That is powerful. Thinking before you act and react, that's a choice that you make, and the choices that you make have power, have energy behind them. All of the things we said, all of the things we didn't say, the actions we carried out, the actions we didn't carry out, that regretful feeling of not carrying out or carrying out those things can be avoided by one simple action, and that is thinking before we proceed. One thing that we can think about are the consequences of our action. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's the law of physics. And yes, universal laws apply to you too. They apply to all of us. We live in this universe. So if physics is saying it, then you're part of the physical world. At least you have a physical being in this world. So you fall under that spectrum too. Good, bad, or indifferent, when we do something, it comes back to us in some way, shape, or form. So first, understanding that there is no good or bad, there only is, can help us navigate our choices. So when we stop labeling things as good and bad and just see them as what they are, then regret, it helps keep regret at bay, because regret thrives off of what you should have done, what you would have done, what you could have done. Whether or not it's good or bad doesn't matter. In most cases, we do see it as being something that is significant because we think that we made the bad decision, a wrong choice in the first place, when it's not necessarily wrong, it's a choice. Choices that we make are labeled as such because of ourselves or because of societal standards. But the reality is, a choice is a choice. Consequences are consequences. Whatever choice you make, there is a consequence. Whether or not you like that consequence is up to you, but really, it is only a consequence of what you did. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So there is a reaction. If you are expecting, or should I say, when you are expecting a certain outcome based off of what you did, then you're sadly mistaken. Thinking before you proceed doesn't offer us a guaranteed reaction. So just because you think before you do something doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the reaction that you're looking for. It doesn't mean that someone is going to respond to you because of your well-intended intentions. People are well-intended, and still the impact of their actions does not align with their intentions. So it is very possible that you are well-intended and you're doing something out of the kindness and the goodness of your heart, and the person that is receiving it does not receive it that way. So thinking before you proceed does not guarantee that the reaction is favorable. It offers us an opportunity to be more intentional, to confidently make these moves and make these decisions, and to be certain of ourselves in the process. So it doesn't absolve us from the aftermath of it. What it does promote is the opportunity to be intentional, to be confident in your decision making, to be certain about yourself, to be able to stand 10 toes down in your decision. And also at the same time, you're moving with a confidence and a certainty that will allow for you to reflect back on your actions. I was very certain of myself in that moment. However, I've learned new information, and now I can apply that information to future actions. You're not going to beat yourself up over a decision that you made, because when you made that decision, you were confident in that decision. You were confident in yourself. Not even necessarily that that decision was going to work out, but you knew that you were going to work it out. So however that decision fell, whatever the reaction was from it, you knew that you could pivot from it if necessary. You knew that you could stand in it if necessary. That's what thinking before proceeding does for us. It's pointless and non-productive to worry about how someone will react to what we do. Again, you may think you're doing someone a solid, and they may see you as not considering their individuality, not honoring them with their right to choose, not giving them a choice, thinking that your thought process is better than theirs. They may not see it as how you intended. So approach the situation objectively. I understand this is easier said than done, especially when we want people to like us or when we want them to find value in what we do and usefulness in what we do. But it's not necessary for us to work in that capacity. Of course, we want people to like us. We are community based. We are having a very human experience. We are spiritual beings in a human body. So there are parts of the human complex that we want to experience, and togetherness is one of them. And spirit likes to do that too. Communion is spiritually based as well. It's okay to want to feel included, but it doesn't mean that because someone disagrees with what you got going on that you're not a part of the community. It just means that we need to reflect a little bit more on what we're doing and how we're doing it, and how we feel about what we're doing and why we are doing what we are doing. It really boils down to that, because there's criticism everywhere. People are going to have their own take on what you do in your life. It is up to you to decide whether or not you are certain and confident about what you have going on. And that takes a deep and intimate knowing of yourself. So what's important is that we do our best and that we lead with love. When we lead with love, we understand that what we are doing isn't coming from a malicious place. It is coming from a place of love, a place of thoughtfulness. We thought about this before we did this, and we're doing it because we feel like this is the best thing for us to do. When we do our best, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best for everyone. It just means that it's our best at this moment. And we are willing to learn and open ourselves up to more understanding, to see our ways and other people's ways, to consider other people's perspectives, to think about the lived experiences that we've gone through and other people's lived experiences, and combine the two so that we can come together. We want to come together. We want that communion, right? Leading with love means we thought about our actions before taking them. So while we can't control the impact of what we've done, we can control the intention we put behind what we do. We may not know how everything will play out, but our intentions are pure and filled with love and care. You can tell the difference between someone acting out of love and someone acting out of fear. The energy feels different because the frequency of the vibes differ. Fear vibrates at a lower frequency than love. That's why we feel energetically depleted when we act out of fear or receive fear-based energy flow, because our bodies want to naturally convert it to usable energy. We use more energy attempting to convert that energy. So we see the low frequency, we want to convert it into the higher frequency so that it is usable for us, and then we run out of energy. This is why it's important to sit still, to not take on any energies, to consciously be aware of the energies that you're taking on, to keep yourself at bay from those energies every once in a while. So meditation, sitting in prayer, it is replenishing. That's why a quiet time, when you have that quiet time or when you get to recharge in nature, you do pick up the energetic field of the land, but you're not consciously sitting there thinking about what you have to do, when you have to do it, how you have to do it. You're able to free your mind of converting and using low frequency energy. Your cup is being filled by the energetic sources around you. And so it takes little effort on your end except to just be there and be still to be refilled. Think of, this is a great example actually. Think of food. and how you utilize food. Energy in food is converted into calories. That's what we talk about when we're talking about calories. Calories is just how you utilize your energy. It's the joules that make up the energy. And when you feed yourself higher vibrational foods, foods that give you that energy, that give you that spunk, that are nourishing to your soul and to your physical body and to your spirit, you feel different. There's a different type of energy that you bring to the world because you've energetically fed yourself. You've given yourself high energy. When we consume energy on the lower spectrum, you're thinking about your junk foods, your foods that don't provide much nutritional value, your body still wants to operate at that higher frequency, but because you're giving it such low energy, it is unable to fully convert that into something that is usable. And that's why we feel tired. That's why we feel sluggish. That's why we sometimes cannot understand what we're doing. Our minds are cloudy. We lack clarity, we lack intention, we lack focus because these foods are not energetically aligned with what it is that our bodies need. And so the same thing goes with the emotions, with feeling other people's feelings, with taking on, with thoughtlessness. Thoughtlessness requires zero energy. So when we are not thinking and when we act in ways that do not consider the consequences of what we got going on, we are powerless within our own lives. Thinking requires energy. So if we don't have to think, we don't expend the energy and we are rendered powerless. Think about when you don't plug in let's say you're plugging in the air fryer. We're talking about food, so it's on the top of my mind. But say you're plugging in your air fryer. If that current is not flowing through that air fryer, it has no energy. It cannot make things. It cannot do what it is intended to do for you. The same goes with yourself. If you are not thoughtful, if you are not acting in a thoughtful manner, you're not putting out energy out there. And so in turn, you're not really getting the energy back. You're just moving throughout the day. You're doing things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're energetically aligned with what you're doing. No energy, no power. Thoughtlessness is an invitation to live like a robot, full of mindless behavior that we cannot justify to anyone as it doesn't speak to who we actually are. What are your actions saying about you, fam? Think for a moment and think about the things that you are doing moving forward because, I don't want you to have to dwell on the past. The past can help us to a certain extent, and you know what you've done, so you don't have to dwell on it. What you can do now, though, is consider what you're doing in this moment. What are you doing? It takes some time to think about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So give yourself some time to sit down and think about your now. Think about what you are doing now and how, if at all, it is helpful or in alignment with who you are at your core. Again, we don't know the impact of our actions until we see what actually happens. So don't allow this form of thinking, to lead you into hesitation. The intention is not for you to hesitate with this. Hesitation and thinking are not the same. So hesitation is when you're fueled by uncertainty. This is when you stop because you're not sure which direction you want to go. Thinking before you proceed is intentional. It's a very intentional act. And though you are not certain about how others will react, you are certain in your capabilities and in your ability to stand in the decision that you've made. Again, intentionality is about a certain type of certainness. and a certain type of confidence that you have moving forward. It's not that you're guaranteed the results that you're looking for. It is that you are certain that you are moving in love and with your best intentions, and you're okay with what you are doing. You're okay with the actions that you are taking. Over the course of the week, consider the consequences of your actions. Though considering the consequences are not a way to shield yourself from the reaction of others, it is a good way to explore your options and to make informed decisions. Remember, proactiveness and intentionality behind your actions isn't contingent upon how someone else reacts. So, because you are proactive and because you are intentional, you are doing this because of you. You're not reacting based off of what someone else has going on. You're moving with certainty. You're doing it with confidence because this is what you're going to do regardless of whose eyes see you. Whomever witnesses what you do, they're witnessing what you've thoughtfully put out there to do. Showing intentions means you are taking charge of your own actions. You are accountable for how you behave, and you accept full responsibility when it comes to you and what you do. Intentionality requires one to operate from a realm of possibility and to embrace the unknown. There may be chaos. Your actions may stir up some shit in others that they've suppressed for years. That's also not your battle to fight. Allow others to take responsibilities for themselves. That's the biggest gift you can give to others today, is to allow them to operate in the realm of their own responsibility, to take accountability for their own actions. Give them the space to handle what they've got going on without wanting to solve their problems for them. Help them by holding space for them and by being a beacon of hope for what can happen when you choose to live with intention and lead with love. Be a walking example of what it looks like to lead with intention and to lead with love. So my final thoughts are this. You can't erase what's happened, but you can move forward with a different lease on life. No use holding on to all that regret. What's in the past is now in the past. Today, this moment right now, can be different for you. Yeah, you didn't think about the shit you did then, but what about now? What about now? Are you thinking about what you're doing now? What is preventing you from thinking about what you're doing? What is encouraging mindless behavior? What is holding you back from exploring the consequences before you make a move? Why is it so hard for you to make an informed decision, to move with certainty, and to give yourself a chance to live in confidence? Sit with yourself and be honest with yourself. Sit in silence, because that's when you can really hear anything that is coming to you. You can't understand what's happening when you are in a chaotic state. When there's so much noise coming at you, picture yourself at a concert and it's just so much noise. Can you really hold a conversation with the person standing beside you? So if you can't even really talk to them, how are you really going to talk to yourself? Sit in silence. Sit without noise. Sit still and ask yourself these questions and meditate on these things. When you take that pause, listen for that voice, that small, still voice, that gut feeling voice. You know what that feels like, that deep, intimate knowing of what to do next, on how to proceed. Think on those things. And then, with intention and with focus and with your best and with love in mind, make your move. Make your move. And feel the impact. Feel the power that you have in that moment when you confidently step up and say, this is what I choose. Regardless of what everyone else is choosing, this is what I choose. And I am confident in my ability to make things happen. Regardless of if this is a quote unquote good decision or bad decision, it is my decision. And my decision is to move forward in this direction. And if necessary, I can move and change directions. I am not stuck here. This is a journey, and journeys require pivoting, and journeys require maybe going backwards sometimes, and journeys require us to move forward. But journeys are journeys, and this is my journey to have, and this is my journey to walk on, and I am okay with the direction I am choosing right now. Can you confidently say that? Can you affirm yourself in those moments? Think on it. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, the time to read. If you're reading the show notes, I thank you for showing up today and for being present. I thank you for implementing, if you so choose, and for being open to discussion and dialogue. And most importantly, I thank you for being you. I'll see you in the next episode. For more dope messages, be sure to visit adailydoseofdope.com and become a member. Also, cop your dope merch at deardopechick.com and follow us on all of our social media at Dear Dope Chick, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, be you, be dope. Love, P.